What's going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut album by LMFAO, and this project is called Party Rock. This came out in the bright summer of 2009, and basically this album was like the precursor to their huge, massive dominance of 2011, which was Sorry for Party Rocking. Basically, if you don't know about LMFAO, they ran 2011 and early 2012 with their hit album Sorry for Party Rocking, which had songs like Party Rock Anthem, which hit #1, and then Sexy and I Know It, which hit #1. They really just dominated the whole as of 2011. But in 2009, this was kind of their breakout, their mild kind of priming to breakout kind of year, and they definitely had some quality music. I'm definitely glad that they dropped this album, just because from what I gathered of LMFAO, I continue to enjoy Sorry for Party Rocking even today, but the short 11 song gesture of that really kind of wears thin all these years later, considering that they just haven't really done any sort of music apart from like the Party Rock Mansion album that I think either Sky Blue or Red Food dropped. I forget which one it was, but that's kind of the concept there. So this is the album that kind of kicked off LMFAO in a lot of ways. They did drop an EP in like the late summer of 2008, but it basically just has the same songs on that project that are on this project. It just has a little bit more. So that's kind of the concept about it. Lots of good stuff. LMFAO are like a signature EDM. They were really one of the ones that helped kick off EDM. They had a good collaboration song with Lil Jon on here. Just overall pop music and dance club music that just stretches out for days, weeks, and months even. This had to be like a hit album of summers for years to come. 2009, 2010, 2011, just throughout the late 2000s, early 2010s. This is just quality music all across the board, and it continues to be a colossal shame, just the fact that LMFAO broke up and went on hiatus just as they were starting to really crest and really break even. Because I definitely think if they would have dropped an album in 2013, it probably would have went 6 times, 8 times platinum, something like that. Probably would have went easily multi-platinum, because they really reached a fever pitch in 2011, 2012. And this album is pretty rock solid too. I just feel like it has enough quality on here to really say that both of the LMFAO albums are definitely worth noting and have a lot of quality affairs about them. That's just kind of the concept. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the singles. So the first single is I'm in Miami Bitch, and this is kind of like a nice little bop on here. This one's not quite as exuberant and quite as widespread as Party Rock Anthem, but it does a pretty mighty job of helping kick off this group and kind of showcase what they're about, which is easily kind of like liquor laden and kind of dance ready kind of cuts. It just has a lot of penchant for weekends and heralded kind of nightlife and that sort of thing. It just works in that sort of context. I definitely like the production value of this song. Real synthy, really feels like an evolution of the sort of stuff from like Usher's Yeah and Love in This Club by Usher. Just those kind of just meant for the club kind of cuts, but as like a single in that sort of sense. It just really works in that sort of context. And it's pretty original for the time. I definitely would feel like there weren't an overabundance of folks apart from like Broken Side and a little bit of Blood on the Dance Floor. There weren't an overabundance of folks apart from like Blood on the Dance Floor and Broken Side that were really doing music with this sort of context back in 2008, 2009 and such. But it definitely works as like a huge highlight. And this overall, this energy, this is a very affable single and probably one of my more favored songs by LMFAO out of their short catalog, I would have to say. La 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 is the second single, and this one is another club cut on here, but it's just more relaxed, not quite as crunchy and quite as dance ready, but just kind of appreciating the sights and more sitting down and kind of sitting at a booth, kind of looking more so hanging out with the chick you're with, more so than furiously dancing with her. Just kind of appreciating the sights, a little bit more relaxed. The hook is really mighty on this song. I really feel like this is an extravagant hook. This is the sort of stuff that they would later do on like Sorry for Party Rocking. With this, the vocoder and kind of like the auto tune on this song works extremely well. I really feel like this is an extremely catchy one. I ultimately like I'm in Miami Bitch a little bit better, but this is a pretty solid follow up in terms of the singles. The third single is Shots, and this was also on I want to say this was also on Lil Jon's Crunk Rock album from the summer of 2010, but this is just an easy highlight. This is just kind of an easy highlight. This has the same energy as I'm in Miami Bitch. This is kind of more of like a dance club and just pounding shots at the bar, just kind of getting crunk. I mean, you have to, I would say, to keep it within the responsible context, but this is an easy song to kind of cut loose to. Definitely showcases definitely showcases LMFAO at their craziest and most riotous, kind of raucous sound that they're known for and what made them so popular. It's just an easy kind of highlight. I'm in Miami Bitch and Shots are both the two singles that have like this exuberantly crazy, just ravenous good time. They're just meant for like the pitch of Friday night, the pitch of Saturday night type stuff. Yes is the fourth single, and this is another one that has a similar pitch to La La La. Maybe not quite as hooky and catchy as La La La, but it's the same kind of more reflecting and kind of, maybe not so much reflecting, but just kind of sitting back and kind of more marveling at the woman you're with and that sort of stuff. This, or the women you're with and that sort of context. This would have to say it just kind of works in that sort of light as far as just being able to, as far as just kind of, it's a stepping out song definitely, but it's just kind of more of like a house party kind of vibe too. It just kind of has that same social kind of vibe about it, but it's just more kind of not as ravenous as Shots and I'm in Miami Bitch. It's just kind of in the same relaxed but still kind of exuberant kind of vibe of La La La. It's just kind of within that relative pitch. So, but then to also talk about a promotional single, there was a promotional single for this album called Get Crazy that I want to talk about. This really is like a furious kind of song. This is definitely one I would think your head would be pounding. This is definitely one where I think your head would be pounding from how heavily you'd be partying and that type of stuff. Just really having a exuberantly crazy kind of time. Definitely weekend kind of cut. This is the same pitch. I definitely would have liked at least 2 or 3 more songs like this song. This is very similar to, probably crazier than I'm in Miami Bitch, and maybe even crazier than Shots. It's about as crazy as Shots, or maybe a little bit crazier, but Get Crazy definitely has that furious pitch. Definitely has like, this definitely has like these kind of loops in there that just really, I don't know, like the beeps and blurps that are kind of in there, but it just really works as like in a real furious kind of electronic sound. Definitely head pounding, tipsy kind of song. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about the songs I recommend to you. So out of 16 songs, or out of 14 songs on here, I wound up recommending to you 10 songs out of 14 plus one almost song, which is just the intro. So those 10 songs would be I'm in Miami Bitch, La La La, Shots, Get Crazy, I Am Not a Whore, Yes, I Shake, I Move, Scream My Name, What Happens at the Party, and I Don't Wanna Be. And the almost song, song number 11, is Rock the Beat. And Rock the Beat is basically just like something that has like the eye of the tiger from like the Rocky movies. It just kind of has like an interpolation of that. It's pretty crazy intro. I definitely like the concept of just getting you started and kind of one of those ones to kind of kick things off in that sort of pitch. But some of the best ones on here, like I said, Get Crazy is an easy immediate highlight. I feel like some of my immediate highlights on here would be I'm in Miami Bitch, Get Crazy, Shots, and then probably I Don't Want to Be. That's another nice one. This is a pretty, I Don't Want to Be is a pretty extravagant dance cut, even though it's kind of like a gimmick song. I Don't Want to Be is a pretty extravagant and smooth kind of dance club song. This has nice synths and kind of crunchiness in there as far as that kind of goes, but it does kind of have this part in the song where it keeps going, get on down. It says that over and over and over in there. But apart from that, it does have like a nice dance kind of feel towards it. It's just kind of maybe not the most immediate, but it's one that I definitely enjoyed more than a lot of the album. Not to say this is going to get a bad score, but it's just probably one of the ones I connected with, even though it's kind of an acquired taste of a song. Scream My Name is another similar song to like La 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 and Yes. This is kind of the same, more relaxed, kind of marveling, kind of club type music, just for appreciating the night and with the women and that type stuff. I would have to say it's kind of more being more grateful and kind of just kind of taking in the, just kind of more receptive and grateful and kind of taking in the times a little bit better, more so than just concentrating on the craziness. But I Am Not a Whore is probably one of the craziest beats on here. That's definitely got a nice crunchy crazy dance ready type tune, very similar to Shots and I Don't Want to Be and Leaving You for the Groove and What Happens at the Party. I mean, most of these beats on here are pretty dance ready. There's not really any distinctly bad beat on here. I can't really think of any particular one apart from Lil Hipster Girl, which just kind of had kind of awkward sounding. That was about the only real awkward sounding one. And Leaving You for the Groove, I just wasn't vibing with the mood of that one. That's kind of more just kind of pissed off at the women you're with or the woman that you're thinking about, something like that. And just kind of being able to say that it's just kind of more of like, hey, I'm out this bitch, that kind of mood and that sort of sake. And then I also feel like Bounce was kind of a gimmick song that I didn't like. I didn't really appreciate the kind of vibes of Bounce. It just said bounce way too much. If it had just been like a normal song, I probably would have liked it, but I just felt like they just said bounce way too much on there. This is kind of, it's a gimmick song that just didn't work as well as I Don't Want to Be. Yeah, so I Shake, I Move is another crunchy dance cut, very similar to I Am Not a Whore. And What Happens at the Party is a lengthier song, but it definitely works. It pulls off the energy pretty well. It kind of sounds early 90s sounding in the second verse, but I do like the energy of it. They just do some stuff really well on here. There's just a lot of crazy ones, but like I said, just to recommend again, probably the craziest ones on here that I feel like are the most immediate highlights would be I'm in Miami, Bitch, Get Crazy, I Don't Want to Be, Shots, and I Am Not a Whore. Those are definitely the most immediate ones, but there are some more relaxed ones like La La La, Yes, and Scream My Name. And the lengthier one that's just kind of the more sprawling kind of club cut would be What Happens at the Party. And then like I Shake, I Move, and like, yeah, I Shake, I Move is just kind of like a solid kind of dance cut. But yeah, so me liking basically 10 songs out of 14 plus one almost song. I'm gonna go ahead and the more I think about it, I kind of feel like Rock the Beat is not an almost song. I like that one enough. It had like some exuberant energy on here. I feel like I like that one enough to make that the 11th song. I know I said earlier in the review that Rock the Beat is kind of an almost song, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not an almost song. But I kind of feel like me liking 11 songs out of 14, I would have to say that it's either a 9.75 out of 10 or a 10. I'll just go ahead and give it a 10 just because, out of past previous judgment of LMFAO, I typically give their stuff 10s out of 10 because of how well it connects with me and how often they have such quality and carnivorous quality overall. So I think I'll just give this album a 10 out of 10. Just go with the benefit of the doubt that this album kicks ass. There's enough quality on here, and I think it's just exuberantly festive to be able to say that. The social score definitely gets a 10 because LMFAO has always been weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night kind of music. Plenty of festive times, bouncing, flirting, that type of stuff, drinking, that sort of concept. It's just, I will say though that it would be interesting eventually at some stage to kind of get a blue collar kind of LMFAO type song. I just wonder what it would be. I think the closest they got to that was just Party Rock Anthem, which could be played at work, but was just kind of more relaxed and it was kind of watered down eventually as time passed later. But I would kind of like for them to do like a blue collar type tune just to see some stuff that they could do. But they're obviously on indefinite hiatus, but it's just kind of the concept that is this ravenous, rock solid rave music and that type of stuff. So 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 social. In terms of the future, the thing about LMFAO is there's not really anything. Like I said, they're on hiatus and they probably may not ever come back. But I've at least covered all three of the albums in one shape or the other across like acid route. So you can find Sorry for Party Rocking, Red Foo, I think it's Red Foo's album Party Rock Mansion, which is basically a spin-off of this LMFAO type music, and then you can also find Party Rock, which I am reviewing right here. So it's kind of the concept. So yeah.